become naturalistic, seed bomb making activity, and helping in the environment conservation. Swachhta Pakhwada, we just integrated Swachhta Pakhwada with our education. Research-based education. Give the students a lot of chances to research. Now, how will you make it possible? When you will be giving some of the, projects well in advance, provide them some reading material, some links to explore YouTube links. Obviously, when the children are there, you have to be a supervisor as well. You have to provide some links to them so that they should explore those links only. And obviously, they can go beyond that as well, but they need supervision at various stages. So here is a glimpse of research-based education. They are researching, connecting with different countries, exploring, and then coming up with various possible solutions. So here, research-based education. Morning, ma'am also talked about Greta Thunberg. And so you see, the children, they should know what is happening in the country, around the world, all over. Let them connect and let them have some role models in their life. So this is again real life connect. Who says we have to teach only in the four walls of the room? Just go outside and explore. Let them explore. And let me tell you, here this picture defines teacher is not, you see, a sage on the stage. Teacher is not a guide on the side also. It is not like that we are on side and children are doing on the, we are the co-learners along with our students. Let us explore, let us learn with our students. So here, a glimpse of sports integration. So this depends upon the teacher, how we can integrate our education with sports. Talking about, when we are talking about explaining the concepts of physics, explaining about force, motion, movement, speed, acceleration, we can incorporate sports in our education right from very early age. See, here is again a glimpse of our sports integration education. Tug of the war, if they are doing experiencing force, experiential learning. Subject integration, art integration. Now here in this picture, Hindi class is going on. Children are learning about Rakt Ke Ansh and to be explained by the science teacher. Then the learning will be facilitated. This is called really learning for life. See this picture. This game has been created by the students itself under the supervision, under the guidance of the educators. See, they are experiencing, bringing the children to the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy, critical thinking, as well as creativity, experiencing force, being naturalistic. And again, art integration, learning by doing, number of things, experiential learning. Now this picture, what does this depict? The children, they are experiencing something, learning and helping each other when they are just inculcating in them different values as well. Now, there are a number of tools that we are incorporating thanks to this technology, digitization in the field of education. The serendipity that we all observed in 2020 has given us a number of tools to explore. Flipgrid, Twitter, Instagram, let our children share their experiences everywhere and collaborate throughout the world. Now here are the glimpses of our students who are sharing their learning on this Flipgrid. Now nothing is complete without holistic assessment. Now for assessment, let us do on various parameters that we call rubrics. For that, certainly teachers need to be trained. Now here, this picture, what does it show? Collaboration, learning by doing, sharing the experiences. Children, they are doing and they are sharing their experiences. Various tasks are being given. And here, the fourth picture is of a parent. We are involving parents too. When we say parents are the co-partners in learning, let them come up. Let them also share their experiences with all the students, not only with that particular child, but with the whole of the class, whole of the community. Now, Nukkad Natak surveys, community outreach programs, this is how we need to prepare our students really for life. Now, here, this last picture, here I would like to talk about teacher education. For doing all this, for achieving all these are tasks, teacher education is important. Now here comes the role of a pedagogical leader. Let us give many chances to our teachers to learn, to attend a number of sessions, to explore around and enhance their skills. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am, for such a powerful, I would say, you just presented a template, how we can utilize this, how we can, implement this policy in a wonderful way. You began by highlighting the importance of holistic education. You also share those ways and with practical examples, with the best practices your school is adopted, how we can achieve that holistic development. You talked about those learning outcomes and why those are important to identify and just to work accordingly. Then you talked about the biggest skills which we need to inculcate among our learners, be it empathy. You shared its importance and how to develop that. You also shared a lot of other important areas like visible thinking strategy, assessment of learning. So wonderful to hear reflection strategy and why learning needs to be mapped. You explained that in a wonderful way. You also talked about the importance of research-based education and the impact it can generate. And then you talked about real life-based education, the integration of sports into education. And then you also highlighted the importance of critical thinking and creativity, experiential learning. You also talked about how we can achieve that, modern age assessment, after involving that peer assessment, self-assessment, the parents' participation in that. And then in the end, you talked about the need of empowering teachers, teacher education. And certainly, we all agree with your ideas, Meenakshi ma'am. And the wonderful thing was that you shared some practical examples from your school, how we can utilize that. But we also saw your, I would say, 360-degree involvement in almost all the activities. So, that makes you super, I would say, super principal, right? You are into biology class, you are into Hindi class, you are into that, field trip. So big thanks, Meenakshi ma'am, for sharing these wonderful ideas. I'll be coming back to you with questions. And now with this, I would request Dr. Abhay Chaubey. Abhayji, if you can have your ideas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before going to talk about adoption or implementation of national education policy in higher education, I would like to introduce my organization. Please allow me to share my screen. SRM University, Delhi, NCR, Sonipat is a center of higher education and research, having motto Learn, Leap, and Lead. SRM Group having a legacy of 5 decades on healthcare, hotel, transport, autotech, construction, infotech, in cement, education, technology, and power. SRM Group have 4 universities. It has 4 campuses at Chennai, Haryana, Amravati, Andhra Pradesh, and Sikkim. SRM University, Delhi, NCR, Sonipat, established under Haryana Private University Act. It is affiliated with Department of Higher Education, Government of Haryana, Department of Science and Industrial Research, Bar Council of India, Association of Indian University, UGC, and National Council for Hotel Management and Catering Technology. It is the first university to have academic update with IIT Haryana, around 48 acres of campus, powered by NASCOM Future Skill, AAA rated by University by Career 360, 63 plus course offered. SRM University having industrial collaboration with NASCOM, IBM, Future Skill, Xavier, Reliance Jio, KPMG, ISDC, and Tata Consultancy Services. It has a collaboration with various universities like Oxford University and these various universities. It has innovation cells, MHRD innovation cells, academic affiliations, professional academic membership, it has well-established library, well-equipped lab, and a modern classroom. Okay, now coming to national education policy. SRM has adopted various methods for national education policy, like learning can take place anywhere with e-learning, concept of flipped classroom pedagogy. A student will have choice to choose like how they want to learn, from which method, like blended learning, flipped classroom learning, bringing your own device. Students will routinely experience internship, mentorship, and collaborative projects. Students will play a large role in forming syllabus and curriculums. SRM University Delhi NCR Sonipat has choice-based credit system for a student. SRM has many industry-oriented courses like IBM specialization in AI and data science, IBM specialization in cloud computing, IBM specialization in IoT and blockchain, IBM specialization in big data, TCS specialization in computer and business system, JVS specialization with DevOps. Recently, SRM has joined hand with Siemens and has launched one center of excellence where various labs are there for product design, process digitization, like 3D painting, biotech specialization lab, and various lab for simulation and lab analysis work. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhay, for sharing these important ideas and how SRM has adopted national education policy. Big thanks. I'll come back to you with questions. And here I've been informed that Manju Lakhanpal ma'am has joined us. Manju ma'am, do we have your presence? Manju ma'am, do we have your presence? Right. So I would invite Sunil Dangiji. Sunil sir, if we can have your ideas and thoughts. Sunil Dangiji. Sunilji, you are on mute. I believe Sunilji is also facing some technical glitch. So with this, we come to the last part of the session, which is the question part. And I would invite all other participants. I would request them, if you have any question, you can write in the chat box. We have already received many questions, so I would be presenting these questions to our key speakers. But before I present my first question to our first speaker, I just would take a minute. I would share my screen for a minute and would like to, share what exactly we have been doing at School Lalaji Solutions. School Lalaji Solutions, some of you are already aware with School Lalaji Solutions. So we are India's largest one-stop solution platform for educational institutions. We are present in 42 cities, working with some around 4,500 institutions. We help educational institutions in 3 ways. We help them in buying right thing from right people at right price. We also help them in selling their old stuff like their old buses, generators, their furniture to other people. We also help institutions in raising money, that may be in terms of loan or fee financing. Why there is a need, for a platform like School Lalaji Solutions for any educational institution? You already have your old suppliers. Your team is expert. You believe you are getting good discount. Why you need School Lalaji Solutions to find a right supplier for you? There are 2 main reasons. One, in our country we have more than 10,000 educational suppliers who are offering lot of services. Like some are giving you ERP, some are giving you some other things, some are giving some other thing. How to identify the right partner? There are many companies we are not even able to reach out to them, or they are not able to reach out to us. because of the low bandwidth as an education leader we have. So these are different areas. We come into picture when you need something. We have category experts. We interact with companies on daily basis. We understand their product and services. We also talk to their previous clients to certify their credibility. We also negotiate with them, on your behalf. So these are different areas where we are helping educational institutions, smart classroom procurement, uniform insurance, diesel supply. We are supplying a diesel to doorstep at zero transportation cost to many schools in Delhi NCR. Solar plant installation, language labs, security solutions, furniture, recruitment, music classrooms, healthcare, robotics, STEM STEAM labs, career counseling, stationery, or digital marketing, IT solutions, educational tour, generators, learning tools, and finance. And we take the guarantee that we'll save at least your 5 to 7% of your annual expenditure. That's kind of a 5% additional revenue generation. Just one example, we saved 2 crore 40 lakh rupees for different schools in one category only. This is bus insurance. Some major highlights, we did 8 megawatt plus solar installation, 3,000 plus bus insurance. We are perhaps India's largest school bus insurance partner. 400 plus smart classroom we installed in 2019, 2,000 plus cameras, 350 plus training program, 56 old buses, uniforming 42 schools. By the end of 2021, we aim to reach out to 10,000 institutions. We need your support, your guidance, your blessings. So I'll end my talk here. And I'll, come with the first question here. Sunil Dangiji has joined us. Sunilji, I would request if you can have your ideas. After that, we'll start that question part.
Yeah. Rajul, I'm sorry, Dr. Abhay finished it very quickly, and I just went for 1 or 2 minutes just outside this. So, the basic, the concept where it starts is like all of us know that earning is very important. But if you're not able to manage what you have earned, then it will be of no use. Earning and managing that earning are two different things. Similarly, learning and managing that learning are also the different thing. So you people are educationists and you are putting a lot of effort to make the child learn lots of things. But there is a huge gap. How to manage that learning? Learning can also be managed. Every child is different. They have the different caliber. Knowing that, for example, a lion cannot work like a monkey, or monkey cannot work like a lion. But both of them have their own importance. If a monkey will start doing the work of lion, he will fail tremendously, and vice versa. So now to identify whether I am a lion or I am a monkey, it's very important. And now how to identify that? For that, we have been doing the research. It's not, the research has already been going for the last 100 years. That's the psychology. And the psychologists have developed various tools using which we can easily identify that, what kind of child is. There are three things. One is the aptitude, personality, and interest. And there are 3 types of aptitude, 5 types of personality, and 6 types of interest. I'll just take the brief of that. The aptitude is verbal, logical, and numerical. Personalities are there the ocean model, open, conscientious, extrovert, and agreeable and neurotic. Similarly, there are 6 types of interest. That's a Rysek model, John Holland model. That realistic, artistic, investigative, social, enterprise, and conventional. Now, I'm just taking an example. For example, there is a child who has a very strong numerical aptitude, and the personality of that child is introvert, and that guy is investigative interest. That guy has an investigative interest. Because that person has a very strong numerical aptitude, it's quite possible that he will have the very good CAT score. And if he or she is getting the admission in IIM Ahmedabad in MBA marketing, everybody will advise him, okay, you must go for it. But 2 important aspects we forgot. That the child is having the introvert personality and the child is having the investigative interest. If he will be doing the MBA marketing, he is going to fail tremendously. The better would have been if there is another child who would have got the social interest and personality is extrovert. And then that guy has a very strong numerical aptitude and a decent verbal aptitude. He could have done very good in MBA marketing. So these are the things which needs to be taken care of before choosing a career. So I'll just share my screen and I'll take you through that how we are helping the child and the schools to manage the manage the learnings. So let me share my screen and I'll quickly take through the portal. Rajul, can you see my screen?
Not yet, sir. Yes, now it is visible. Yes. Sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Rajul. So this is the student dashboard. It's like what a student need. There should be a platform where he can explore the careers, and the information which has been provided over here, it is multilingual. Even not just the student, even the parents can also understand it. And this I have opened the English version of it, but it's a multilingual. A child can have all the information about a career. That, for example, a digital marketing is a career. So what are the future prospects, and all the information is available in an audio-visual format. It is taking some time because of I think the slow internet. So okay, just I'll take you. And then after exploring the career, then how to find out the best fit for career for yourself. And then for that, we have a psychometric assessment. A child can click here and he can, there will be a report, and the report is also on audio-visual format and multilingual. For example, our two key character, eMan and Go, explains that, and this eMango stands for Education Management on the Go. We are helping the people to manage the education. So after finding the best fit career, next question is that to move on that career, what are the courses required, and then what are the colleges? Then there's a list of college, and where a child can choose the college in which he wants to apply. Similarly, there's a list of exams, there are a list of competitive events. There are a lot of competitive events which keep on happening. For the sports, there are a lot of competitive events keep on happening. And sometimes we forget that which event is happening at what time. Similarly, there are this Olympic, NTSC, NSO, Olympiads, etc. So all this information is available on a single platform. And in addition to that, there are lots of scholarships. And as per new education policy, childs will have to go for the internship. Now, where they will find that kind of internships? This is a single platform. These are scholarship. He can also find the internships over here. And then they can, shortlist the internship they want to apply. There are so many internships: Amazon internship, Asian Bank internship, and United Nations internship. These are internships which are available for the students. So after just exploring all this, he can keep on making his own card. He can keep on making his own wish list. In his wish list, he can shortlist the career he wants to do. He can shortlist the entrance exam, colleges, scholarship, internship. Then what we do is we can automatically keep on sending them the reminders for for all these kind of events that are coming up. The event which has been shortlisted by the student. So this is the student dashboard, and a student can also manage all the academic record in a very nice way. I'll just open it. It's a very view profile. He can keep all the records, whatever he has done. For example, this is a holistic profile of child, sports, dance, and others. He was a district champion. He was awarded rank 1. He was a dance in state dance competition. Rank was 29. Similarly, he can manage the internship which he has done. He can manage all his academic records, how much marks he has got in subject wise. And this is a digital platform. He can access it anywhere and everywhere. And he can also know his aptitude scores. There are the preferences which is shortlisted. All the information is available here. So this is a digital platform where a child it helps the student to manage the education part. Now this is a school dashboard. In this, a school can also manage all the champions of the school on what are the champions in sports, academic, NTSCs, NSO, dance, drama, and everything. He can also manage all the details of the alumnus. As per new education policy, the student will be, the schools will be required to know, to kind of calling some people, those who are the expert in the field. So if your own alumnus can come to your school and give the lecture, for example, if you want to invite some doctor, this is the alumnus of this particular school, Dr. Varuna. Dr. Varuna is a radiologist, and she's a radiologist in, in Apollo Hospital. Sandeep Singh is an IAS officer, is Punjab cadre. So a school can manage all this data because we keep on losing all this data. And school can also have the various notification of the events and all those in this portal. We conduct the psychometric assessment. The school will come to the numerical aptitude of the overall school, and then the class-wise numerical aptitude, then the section-wise numerical aptitude. They can also come to know what is the interest of the child in their school, and then accordingly they can come to know that which streams will be suitable for them. We have 2 psychometric assessments, stream selector test and the career selector test, and we have been working with the. And what we are doing is we are the only player in the world, those who have gamified the psychometric assessment. No one else in the world has ever done this. We are working with IIT Delhi, and our research paper will be published in International Congress of Psychology, which happens only once in 4 years. This is one of the topmost platform for the psychology. And our mentor, Professor Purnima, is among the top 10 psychologists in the world. She's among the top 10 psychologists in the world. So we are developing a very strong platform so that the thing which I did not have, so that people have now the new education policy is allowing the student to have given the extra wings to them. They will not be choosing the subject; they will be choosing the stream. So to choose the right subject, the confusion is going to increase. And hence, such kind of platforms are very, very important. So, as an educationist, I'll request you all that you are an educationist. That I'll request you all that such kind of platform should be there. And with the help of technology, we have reduced the cost of this product more than 10 times. The cost of such kind of product, first of all, such product does not exist. Even the similar product which exist of low quality, they are charging 6,000, 7,000 rupees. We have brought down the cost to 200, 300 rupees per student per year. It's that low. So it is my request, a humble request to all the educators, please go to such kind of platform and help your students manage their education. Thank you, Rajul. Thanks for allowing me to explain.
Thank you, Sunilji, for sharing these ideas and information about eMango solutions. Big thanks. I'll come back to you with questions. And now with this, we come to the last part of the session, the question part. We have already received many questions. So I would request Paramjeet ma'am, if I may present the first question to you. This has been asked by, ma'am, this has been asked by Miss Reveline. She's a TGT science cum maths teacher at St. Michael Senior Secondary School, New Delhi. The question I have also posted in the chat box. How will this policy affect teaching learning strategies, Paramjeet ma'am?
Nothing affects anything. It's your will, it's your attitude, it is your power to change. That's what matters. All right. As a teacher, NEP, no NEP, anything, as a teacher, we need to be aggressive. We need to have critical thinking in our classrooms. Now that NEP talks about all the more reasons to have critical thinking in our classroom, whether it is mathematics or sciences or English or anything, no strategy can change us. We pick up that strategy and we use it for the benefit of the students. All strategies in education keep the students at the top. So if this is good for our students and all those learned people have put it up, we need to accept it, embrace it, go for it, run, touch the sky. The sky is the limit for the children, for you, for everybody. Let us be great educators. Let us be education heroes who adopt and embrace new strategies, who change with time. All right. So all the best. Adopt and embrace NEP. And then be creative in your classroom. Let it be an engaged classroom. Let learning happen in your classrooms.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paramjeet ma'am. I'll come back to you for your concluding remark. And now I would request Bharti ma'am, ma'am, if I may present the next question to you.
Sure, sir.
Ma'am, this has been asked by Miss Maninder Kaur. Maninder ji is a Punjabi teacher with the Kamala Nehru Public School, Fagwara. I have also posted the question in the chat box. Question says, what are the qualification needed for a teacher post NEP implementation or under new national education policy?
Okay. The qualification needed post NEP, if we talk about the academic qualification, now the course is changed. Like earlier, you have to be a B.Ed, and that was 2 years course, which again became 1 year. But now it says it's a 4-year integrated B.Ed. So by 2030, minimum degree qualification required for a teacher will be 4-year integrated B.Ed. And after this course, you will be a well-qualified teacher. But along with this, I would say a teacher is a person who cannot be a proper teacher only with the degree. You have to come down to the level of the kids. You have to understand their psychology. You have to mold yourself as per the students you are catering to. And that will actually reflect to your teaching methods and will prove you to be a good facilitator. And for that, yes, 4-year integrated B.Ed is much required. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bharti ma'am. And now I would request Sawali Muthu sir. Sir, the question in the chat box, it has been asked by Ms. Farheen from Creekside International School, Hyderabad. The question says, what are the training programs offered by NEP to enhance the scholastic growth of children at 0 to 8 years? Sir, you are on mute.
What are the, so can you please repeat the question?
Sir, question has been in the chat box also. What are the training programs offered by NEP to enhance the scholastic growth of children at 0 to 8 years?
The training program you mean for the children or for the teachers?
For the teachers, I believe. And
yeah, for the teachers especially, because the emphasis now on the play method, learning by doing. So they have more emphasis on learning by doing, no more what we call just giving lectures or telling stories or anecdotes and so on, but making them involved through activities and by doing, learning by doing, play method. That is more emphasis.
Right. I also I would also request you if you can also take on the next question. What should be the class strength in the chat box only? What should be the class strength? Number of students in a class according to national education policy. Do we have any specific number which is there in NEP?
Yeah, right now they are given 30, 1:30, one teacher per 30 students. But then to implement, I think it's going to be a great challenge, especially not only for us in urban centers, but also in the rural areas of our country.
Right. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Husna ma'am, if I may present the next question to you. This has been asked by Mr. Jitesh Kumar Singh. He's a PGT history from Delhi Public School, Lucknow. I am also posting the question in the chat box. What about the training and vocational courses like B.Ed, NET, NET? What is the policy to employ them after clearing these exams?
Though we all are aware, B.Ed has been the primary requirement for a teacher to be appointed at school. There has also been D.Ed, the Diploma in Education, that has been given emphasis on, and there is also the TET examination that is being given by CPSE, where teachers should take an assessment and get qualified into. These examinations are, what I understand, are a primary requisite. But how far, if we understand the B.Ed that we have done years ago, does not stand applicable at any level right now with the kind of education that is being provided. We are all B.Eds about 15, 20 years ago. Now we have to be bracing up with the changes in the education system as it keeps coming. So we all should be that inclined to, like we say in a medical field, they should always be updated as to what are the new new procedures in surgeries, or what are the new medications that have come. The same applies to education field right now in the present scenario. We understand, okay, we did not know what online education was. Now we are, none of us have studied these things in our BEds, or even the recent BEds of 2 years back have not known these things, the virtual teaching, the online teaching. So it's not just clearing exams and being able to get through. Those are all primary requirements, but our inclination to be updated and to be understanding and bracing up to be teaching children who are going to take it further in their life should be our motive. That should be the primary requirement that we should look at when we are hiring staff at school, I suppose.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. I'll come back to you for your concluding remark. And now I would request Dr. Chaubey or Sarifai. I believe Dr. Chaubey has just left the, lost the connection. Now I would request Sunil Dangi-ji. Sunil-ji, a lot of people have asked this question in the past sessions as well about the flexibility which is being offered, by NEP for students to choose subjects. Many believe that this would create a further confusion for those children in terms of choosing their careers. So how much you agree with it?
I really appreciate that the extra means which has been given to the child to choose when I was a student, I was a non-medical student, but I didn't know, I wanted to study the political science and economics as well, but that option was not available at that time. So, but now as it has been, although in the previous policy also there were more subjects, but now they are more emphasizing on it, that school should have all the subjects available. Now, definitely it is going to increase the confusion, and because the lack of awareness always generates the fear. For example, I'm taking an example. A student wants to take a physics, accounts and music. Now just imagine that what he will do in his life. The parents will get scared. Kya kar raha hai? You have one course from non-medical, another is from, one science, another is humanities, another is commerce. What will you do in your life? But if there will be a career exist in corresponding to those subjects, then they will not have the fear and they will be choosing it. For example, the example which I just gave, physics, accounts and music, that person can become a he can become a manufacturer of the musical instruments. There's one career. Physics is required to learn about the sounds. And he knows, he is interested in music. He has learned the music, right? And he knows physics, he knows music, and he is an accountant also. So he can become a very, very good businessman, and he can, start manufacturing the musical instruments. So that's how we will really need the technology and such kind of platforms, and more counseling needs to be done. New age careers keep on coming. So that's what might take. The extra wings has come, but now educationists will have to provide these facilities to the child as well. So that's what.
Right. Thank you, Sunilji. So with this, we come to the end of this very special session. But we have also received 2 questions in the chat box. So I would request Paramjit ma'am, if I may quickly present these 2 questions. First is from Ms. Rashmi Bhuvan. The question says, NEP lays emphasis on native languages of India, but to globally successful, should be focused on English language. So Paramjit, a lot of people have this confusion that they believe that emphasis upon native languages or regional languages would dilute the importance of English. What is your assessment?
I really feel this is not correct. Rather, we were under the pressure of English, that even if a child understands or does not understand in a kindergarten session, we had to use English because that's what parents wanted. And so that the children may understand, we would have a body language, all possible gestures so that the children understand. And all these nursery rhymes, which we'd say the 150 nursery rhymes children should know, that was all with gestures they would understand. But I feel, in the good old days, it was English would start from grade 6 and it was native language. And all our senior citizens, our fathers, grandfathers, they were pretty good at English. So I feel that if we can make the foundation strong by using native language and then slowly move to English, nobody stops the child from being fluent in English. It is not that we're going to stop English altogether. But yes, in the classroom, especially the public school where there was pure English, we can now definitely go for some Hindi and Punjabi, the regional language, whatever it is. I think it's an add-on. Let's accept, Let's try it out. It'll be fabulous. I'm so sure about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Many educators in the previous sessions have said similar things. What Paramjit ma'am has said, that it is not going to dilute; it is in fact going to empower our learners. English can be learned at any age. You can learn English at 6th standard, or at any age. A lot of experts believe that a student up to 8th year can learn up to 5 languages. So that would certainly empower our learners in terms of clearing their foundational learning. So big thanks, Paramjit ma'am. I would request Bharti ma'am, if I may present this question. This would be the last question of the day, and then we'll come to that concluding part. Bharti ma'am, the question is in the chat box. Miss Farheen from Creekside, not Miss Nazia Wazid from Creekside International School. What are the practical ways of inculcating value-based education in children at school? Is it the duty of only teachers and parents, or the whole environment? So, ma'am, you are on mute.
A very good question indeed. I won't say for the value-based education, it's only the parents or the teachers who are responsible. It is actually the environment in which we bring in, we bring up the child. It is the environment which which matters a lot. For value-based education, why do we say it's a value-based education? I believe each and every activity which we do, each and every action which we do, each and everything which we learn, we actually are learning one or the other kind of a value. So value-based education automatically goes hand in hand with other things which we are doing in our day-to-day life, right from the morning till the afternoon in the school, and then after that in the house. So value-based education is one, I think, which has to be integrated with each and every topic we are taking up in maybe it's maths, maybe it's science, or maybe it's any other subject, or maybe when we are moving along in the corridor of the school, at that moment also we can teach a child values. So this is totally depending upon the environment in which we are bringing up the child. Thank you.
So I've just got a thought, Bharti ma'am, that
yes,
if you exclude teachers and parents, so what is there which is left in the environment of a student? Only teachers and parents, I believe, they are the major component of the environment.
Yes, sir. No doubt the teachers and the parents are the major components in the environment. But is it only the teachers and the parents we are meeting the entire day, or the child is interacting with in the entire day? Or is it not when the child is in the ground or, playing or somewhere, and then he is witnessing or viewing certain things going on wherein he learns, no, this is wrong, this is right, or this should be done, or maybe an interaction going among two other people whom he is listening to, and can learn so many things from that. So it is actually, if you are growing a child in a proper environment, in a good environment, wherein the child is able to interact and to meet with people from different fields and from different backgrounds, and there the child picks up. So if it is a good environment, obviously people who come in touch with those children will automatically imbibe or give certain good values to the children.
Right. So thank you Bharti ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And with this we come to the end of the session, but I would request our key speakers, if we can have your concluding remark before we end the session. We have also established one very interesting practice, that while sharing your concluding remark, if you can also suggest one idea, right? So one idea, one thought. Meenakshi ma'am, did I present a question to you? No. So I'm sorry. Please let me
No, that's
present
okay.
this. No, ma'am, that's okay for you. But why we should leave you without asking a question? You must take the advantage, right? So there is a question in the chat box from Mr. Laksha Mahajan. Ma'am, Meenakshi ma'am, in the chat box, is there any provision for students in NEP that they will get the chances of global exposure through interaction with global teachers' experience, as we're talking about universalization of education? So what areas you believe in NEP which is highlighting that global exposure, or how that is strengthening that universalization of education?
Yes, certainly when we are talking about universalization of education, talking about integration, collaboration at a global part, you see here, Right now, I'll tell you, we only have to come up with that different ideas as teachers. Right now, here is Madam Paramjit Kaur Dhillon is here. She has given our school a global exposure, and we are presenting at global level. This is how we come up. We have to think and come up with various number of strategies, whether it is SDG, whether it is a bridging of the cross-cultural gaps. It can be anything. You see, just a few days ago, I have just seen people from other countries where they are also learning English as a second language, but it is very difficult for them to understand. Even our students, they can teach them English too. This is peer tutoring across the globe, and we can have number of beautiful strategies.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am. And now, I was sharing that, along with your concluding remark, we have a practice that you please share one idea, one thought that you would like to implement as a priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education of our country. So what would be your priority? So I would come to you randomly so that you cannot fix your answers. So I would request Sawari Muthu sir, if I may request you for your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education?
Good. Anyway, it was a very informative, very productive session. I liked all the participants, especially the key speakers. It was very enriching experience. And I said it's up to each one of us. It's not only we educationists, but practically I think it is a duty of every citizen to make sure that this beautiful NEP is implemented and the goals are achieved. And as you say, as a education minister, my first priority would be to convince the finance minister to give us the 6% of GDP to education. That will be my first trial and first endeavor.
Absolutely, sir. This has been our experience that a lot of educators whom we have asked this question, so they are not interested in education ministry. They are all interested in becoming the finance minister. so this वो कहते हैं कि we have been through entire our life we have been the education minister. We have been to education. Now let's enjoy let us enjoy our life now. Let us become the finance minister. So thank you, Sawari Muthu sir. And now I would request Sunil Dangi sir. Sir, if I may ask you for your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education?
First of all, I would like to thank all the educators, and they've shared their views regarding the new education policy 2020. As I see, it is after 34 years, such a drastic change has come, and it is with the intention and in the spirit that it is for to taking our education system at par with the various developed countries' education system. And now the question that if I would have been the education minister, like that there is a right to education kind of things, then why there should not be a right to choose a career? Why there should not be a right to choose the life that I want to become so and so? So that also need to be emphasized, that the right to choose the career should be given to the child, after letting them know how to choose it. Give them all the information and then let them choose, instead of forcing them. The parents force on 80% of what we are doing. We did not study that. We are just here. Lots of people are, what we are doing is by chance actually. But it would have been better. We would have been. Sometimes it's called known as a midlife crisis, which comes around age 40. That what I've been doing, I would have been done all those. So it could be done. It is possible. And new education policy is emphasizing lot of things on a knowledge-based kind of things, instead of the academic marks and all. You have got very good marks in physics, go and you cleared the JEE, then it doesn't mean that you will become a very, very good engineer. Or by clearing a CAT exam, it doesn't mean you can become a very good marketing manager. So a lot of emphasis must be given. A right to choose a career it should have been emphasized. And that's if I were the education minister, I could have somehow requested to implement this. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Husna ma'am. Ma'am, if I may ask you for your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education?
Mr. Rajat, it had been an awesome session. Getting to share this panel of members, the keynote speakers who are experienced stalwarts in the field of education. I feel I stand nowhere when I get this inputs from them. I understand the role of principal as the head of the institution is very important. Now, to implement the education policy, the lot is written, lot has been said, talked, but the implementation is very important. And we principals, as I said in my talk, that we have to ensure that it is implemented. Now, it is not an easy task. It's not easy for us to just see, okay, this is a policy, 260 pages, 280 pages, and you go through and you're implementing, okay, 1, 2, 3, we jot down and we implement. It is basically not so easy. It would take years for us to come to that level to implement it in the right way. So it is for us to take as a challenge and start working now. We've been working, trying to get into it since the time the draft came, but still it is a long way to go, and we should be geared up to do that. Second, as you said, what I would be doing as an education minister, what I would recommend. Presently, we're living in a global world where challenges, systems have all come to a different level, a different platform. So our children being able, many of them are going abroad. There are many children from other countries coming to India for education. So our education should be at that global level. So the first priority that the education ministry should be doing is bringing our education level to that standard. It is not only from the level of the education ministry, the responsibility lies on all our shoulders, I understand. One more thing that I would feel is, though being a CBSE school, I understand with a lot of support from CBSE on all fronts, we're able to cater to a lot of things. What is mentioned even in the NEP has been implemented at certain levels already in CBSE schools. But what I see when we see the other schools of state boards and all that, things do not go that way. So all schools should be brought to that same level, not just a few schools, the international schools or the CBSE schools. It should be all schools at every level should be coming to that. Then we should think of taking that leap to the global stage. Thank you.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Husna
I'm
ma'am.
glad to be a part of all these eminent panelists. Thank you very much.
We are equally honored with your presence, ma'am. Big thanks for joining and sharing your thoughts. Now, I would request Dr. Meenakshi Narula, ma'am. Ma'am, if we can have your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education?
Thank you very much for the wonderful platform. I would like to just say if I will be getting a chance to become Education Minister, as we have started with student exchange programs, I would certainly begin with teacher exchange programs. Let us go to different schools, let us learn something different and empower ourselves. So certainly that will I begin with that. And it's such a wonderful platform where I got to know many things about NEP implementation from such eminent personalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am. Big thanks for your participation. Now, I would request Bharti ma'am, ma'am, if we can have your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session, and thank you to all the eminent educators, educationists present here. I believe, sir, the more we talk about this NEP, the more we discuss about this NEP, the things will get more clear and easy to adapt. And I don't think anything is impossible. But slowly, the things will get better, and we will be having more clear concept towards policy, and it will be easy to adapt and implement whatever it is asking for. The second question, yeah, it's very interesting, Minister of Education, yeah. So if I get a chance to be at that post, I think the priority for me is future ready. Because I believe if each and every child is future ready, the poverty level, the crisis which our country is facing will come to an end, or it will become the minimal. And for this, the focus for me will be the implementation of whatever and whichever policy we undertake. I believe there will be, hurdles in the way, but no hurdles should deter the goal of achieving those policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Big thanks, Bharti ma'am, for joining and sharing these wonderful thoughts. And now I would welcome. Big thanks, ma'am. Now I would request Paramjeet ma'am. Ma'am, we would like to conclude the session with your remarks. So I would request you for your concluding remark. And what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education, along with that additional charge of Finance Ministry?
Okay. First and foremost, we need to rise up to embrace NEP. First and foremost, we have to accept it and we have to shoulder the responsibility that we are successful in implementing NEP. Remember, we are the school leaders and we should lead from the front. Nothing is impossible. Coming to the second point, leave no one behind would be what I would like to focus on. Remember, quality education is goal number 4. And if we achieve quality education, we'll achieve all the other remaining sustainable development goals. And if we achieve sustainable development goals, that means it will be a beautiful, wonderful, sustainable world of which we'd be all happy, living together. And I would like to thank Meenakshi for mentioning that the international project we are working on, that's Rise Up for SDGs, where she was one of the eminent speakers and she shared her school story. In that we have about 500 to 600, I think 580 participants from all over the world, and God's grace, it's going well. And that's all about NEP also, where we are, interactions and all those things. So thank you, sir. Thank you to all my fellow participants, educators. I am honored, humbled to be part of this. And thank you for this wonderful chance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. But we miss your that aspect. What would be your priority if you get a chance to become minister? What action you would take?
Education minister or no education minister? Leave no one behind is what I believe in. Every child needs to be educated. We need to be a developed country. I would like to, leave this earth in a developed country. So we have to work fast on education. We just can't stand and stare and just wait others to do it. Let's take it in our hands and do it ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Minister or no minister, we need to work on SDG 4
Absolutely.
education.
Absolutely, we need more motivated educators like you all. So big thanks once again to all of you, Paramjeet ma'am, Bharti ma'am, Savari Muthu sir, Manju Lakhanpal ma'am, Husna Haseeb ma'am, Meenakshi ma'am, Chaube sir, Sunil sir for joining and sharing your wonderful thoughts and making this 140th session truly special. I also thank other participants for being with us. Big thanks. We'll end the session here. But thank you all.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir, and bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.